People, places, and things change so much over time. Be it the place where you grew up, when you go back to visit, you find that the trees have grown or have been chopped down, people repaint their houses. Often, places are abandoned and become overrun by weeds and turn wild. I've changed over the years too. I think back to when I first started making videos, I would have approached Shift Happens so differently than I do now. I would have primarily played single player and lightly commented on the co-op features. Now I would emphasize how much I like playing co-op games. I actively was looking for co-op games. That's how I ended up stumbling across Shift Happens. Oh, and let's get this all out of our system right now. Shift Happens. Say it with me, everybody. Shift Happens. At least one person is going to comment on this video, Shift Happens. So I'm going to post mine first, and everyone else can post it under mine. It's like saying this is the way as a Mandalorian fan. Shift Happens is a 2D puzzle platformer developed by Klonk Games and released in 2017. I saw a puzzle game with an orange and blue protagonist duo solving puzzles in a laboratory. To be completely honest with you, I was hoping for a puzzle game like Portal. What I got on single player was a multitasking challenge game. And on multiplayer, I would explain the solution, and my partner would struggle to adjust to the controls. I would have liked to see something more narratively driven throughout the game, where the level tells a story. After all, the game does start out in a laboratory assembly line, where gray, blobby jello jelly creatures are being tested with basic cube and button puzzles, and shrinking and growing. The game's story is basically due to divine intervention, two of these blobby creatures get painted orange and blue, and then get linked together so that only one can be big and one can be small at a time. Thus, the game's namesake, Shift Happens, as you and your partner shift between being big or small blobby creatures. The orange and blue jello jelly creatures named Bismo and Plum will need to work together through the lab, forest, canyons, and finally the cold caves snow levels to discover the true adventures of friends we made along the way. Can you see why I was expecting a Portal-esque game? The white lab contrasts with the orange and blue characters. Orange and blue portals? Moving cubes around, pushing buttons? Tell me I'm not crazy. The problem is, I could only play a few levels in a sitting, be it solo or multiplayer. Just a few levels were enough for me to say, okay, let's go play something fun now. Shift Happens was a chore for me to finish, and I was very happy to be done with it. Not because it felt like a rewarding gameplay experience, I was happy it was over. Quite the contrast from Portal 1 and 2, where I couldn't get enough and wanted to keep on testing. Why are we still talking about this game? There's science to do. When I look up there, it makes me glad I'm not you. I've experiments to run. There is research to be done on the people who are still alive. The first two levels give you a good idea of the basic mechanics. Move right, left, jump, grab, and hold to push or pull, and shift between being big or small blob. After the second level, the accident happens, where one character needs to be big and the other needs to be small. Whenever you or your friend shifts, the other player changes. So the way you can betray your partner in co-op is by intentionally messing up the timing of stuff. Pressing random buttons and not solving the problem, or shifting when your partner is small, running underneath the platform, or shifting large when your partner is standing in waist-high water. Now that we're done laughing at the antics, there's not a whole lot left here. Each world or set of levels is progressively harder than the last. The first set of levels in the laboratory was the easiest and also the levels I enjoyed playing the most. I want to try to provide some useful feedback on the game. It's like if someone comments on my video, I don't like your video. Okay, cool, thanks for the comment, but I can't do anything with that. However, if someone can figure out what exactly they don't like, that'll narrow down how I can improve in the future, especially if it's a change worth making. So I've said I didn't enjoy the game, but why didn't I enjoy it? The game's theming seems like Portal, and we've seen that laboratory setting be incredibly successful. The visuals weren't bad, the theming wasn't bad, I liked the look of the goopy people, it's what made me want to pick up the game to begin with. The first problem is encountered with the controls. They weren't super smooth and responsive. Sometimes there was a slight delay in catching or picking up your partner. It's the part my wife struggled with the most, trying to catch and throw stuff. I pick up gameplay mechanics pretty quickly, so I figured it out and adjusted, but she definitely struggled and didn't enjoy the procedure. The best way I can describe it is you don't want to preemptively press the button or press and hold. Tap the button to grab. It might also help to note that we played with keyboard controls, not a controller where a button tap would be more common. On a keyboard, if you tap and hold, sometimes the character just wouldn't move, and that results in missing the grab and your partner dying. And even though I figured out the mechanics quickly, I didn't enjoy it. I played the game like I was taking medicine, a tiny bit at a time until I was done. I played that way because I'd feel tired and bored after finishing a few levels. I wasn't bored because it was too easy, I wasn't bored because it was too hard. I was bored because progress was slow, I wasn't solving problems. I was navigating two different characters around a 2D level to solve the problem I'd usually figured out as soon as I walked into the space. For example, one level, and the worst level I had to do, required me to put each character on a trampoline, and I would need to jump and shift to be big at the apex of the jump, then switch my controlled character and shift at the apex of that character's bounce, then switch characters and shift to gain momentum to launch one of the characters high enough to clear the obstacle or press the button. The hard version of that required me to do the same thing, but now I had to land on moving trampolines. This wasn't fun. I wasn't solving puzzles, I was testing my multitasking abilities. And there are more fun ways to test that too. Reference: flight simulators. I like those games. I've noticed some people on Steam have run into glitches while playing multiplayer online, specifically when trying to knock over stuff to make a bridge. I encountered the glitch while playing with my wife too, but successfully passed it. Don't know how or why, I got lucky I guess, but everything was fine on her computer and the bridge in physics went wild on mine. I think it's something to do about connectivity issues between the computers. Another solution could be to play co-op locally. But even then, again, the mechanics and timing aren't quite as clean as I'd like them to be. The trick to get the bridge down is to throw your little blob and shift to the big blob in midair, and sometimes it makes your computer go. I think a couple ways the gameplay could have been improved is if there was something else, like a double jump or some other mobility enhancement gameplay mechanic. Even just speeding up how the character moves across the screen or a sprint button. I can't say I've ever played any other 2D co-op puzzle platformers where everything is designed for two-person play, so I'm not sure what the alternatives are. But I look at games like Portal for puzzle inspiration. Even simple puzzles on Portal are compelling because of the curiosity of the environment, and the sometimes non-linear exploration, and of course being sassed by Gladys. Or the Trine games, which are 2D puzzle platformers, which can be played single-player or multiplayer. But there are different solutions possible. Maybe you can figure out the solutions by using the same character, or you use one of the unique abilities from the trio to set up the others. Or maybe you can figure out your own solutions. Trine encouraged exploration in a way that I never wanted to do in Shift Happens. I didn't want to explore more, I wanted to get done and play something else. Or the puzzle platforming of Limbo, where it quickly resets after you fail and has superb atmospheric storytelling. If you're not sure what to do, just try something and you'll eventually figure it out. But the haunting silhouetted visuals are just as important as the 2D platforming. Each of these games has gameplay mechanics I absolutely love, and if Shift Happens was more like any of them, I think I would have enjoyed it so much more. In conclusion, shift happens. What if I just ended the review like that? I picked up Shift Happens on a really good sale and only spent a few dollars to get it. So I wouldn't discourage picking it up, but I can't really give it a strong recommendation either. It's fine for what it is, but I just wish it was more fun to play on single player or multiplayer. If you've seen some of the gameplay and you still want to give it a try, you should give it a shot. However, if you're looking for your next favorite co-op game, I would suggest putting this game lower on your list. If you're looking for 2D co-op games, I can easily suggest the Trine games, Broforce, Guacamelee, Battleblock Theater, Castle Crashers, among others. I'd take a few recommendations for any other 2D co-op puzzle platformers if you can think of any. Anyway, to recommend a related video, we talked about Guacamelee, so feel free to check out my Guacamelee review. Just don't expect me to say it correctly. Melee. As I always say, I'm illiterate. Dang old English and how it assimilates other words from other languages. It's impossible to keep up. Anyway, my name is Atratzu. I'll see you in the next review.